folks, Papa Boris here, reviewing the final game to finish in Stage 3 of the 2025 Through the Ages World Championship. It's against Mattil. He kicks things off by taking the one wonder available, the Colosseum. Now, I've talked before about how Weidenbaum is of the opinion this is not a good wonder in two-player games. I don't think he likes the wonder in general, but I think it's also fine to just take it because it's the only wonder available. There is a Colossus up here that you can get, potentially, and there's also the Roman roads. If you do the counting, Colossus is going to go 1, 2, 3, so you're not going to get it, no matter what your opponent does, as the first player on turn 1. So it makes sense to grab a wonder while you can and just not screw around. Now, my favorite leader here is Confucius, but I don't think it's correct to take him over Caesar, especially because Caesar comes with a free food, because we do have a very strong synergy. As the second player, you are guaranteed in the spot to get Colossus in the one action spot on your turn. Caesar Colossus is a classic combo. Not only is there a ton of strength, but Caesar with the extra military actions is more likely to draw colonies. The Colossus helps you win colonies, and in this game we do have two synergies with colonies. Columbus is in here to help develop a colony you find with Caesar, and Suez Canal is in here to make use of colonies you'd acquired previously. There is no James Cook, sadly, but with those two, I think, I would have been tempted by Caesar over Confucius, even if Caesar had been in the two-action spot, though I probably still would have taken Confucius with frugality because extra science is really, really good. Now, the nice thing for me, and I do think I'm a little lucky here as a second player, not only do I get the Caesar-Colossus combo, but also Ashoka is the only other leader available besides Confucius, so it's really likely that Mattil will take Confucius, and that's actually pretty good. He now has Ashoka and Homer to choose from, so he's clearly going to take Confucius, play him, he builds a mine, and then he also grabs the urban growth, squeezing a little extra out of the early game, not just raising population, but willing to take that small risk of missing out on a free temple in exchange for getting an extra rock and having a bit of a cure for the turn 2 doldrums. Now, the synergy between Confucius going ahead of you and you being Caesar is that because Confucius requires the opponent to play events and makes it possible to always play an event if desired, it's going to push the event deck along. So now as Caesar, if I do get like a strength boost and I put strength-based events in there, it isn't going to be like last game where the deck didn't move at all because Alexander wisely didn't play any events into it. It's going to be chugging along, and I could potentially get a whole lot of value out of it. So now Caesar is very likely to be very good because either he'll get me colonies, and that's good, or he'll just get me strength-based events, and the odds that he does neither of those things with 3 draws per turn is a bit unlikely. Now on my turn, something happens, and I decide to change all of my plans. After playing Caesar, I notice the University is here. It's the top card of deck 1. And in Weidenbaum's videos, I've noticed that he will often look at what leaders or what wonders are available in Age 1 and consider skipping the Age A wonder if there's a really good economical wonder from Age 1. And the University definitely qualifies because it provides 2 science, which is really strong. So I decide to be cute here, and I take the Engineering Genius. It's 2 rocks for 2 actions, which we all know is not great, but it does leave me with an action to make a mine. And so my plan now is University drops here, then on my turn it's in the 1 action spot. Mattil has a wonder under construction, so he can't swipe it from me. And then instead of getting the Colossus, I get the University. And I think it's a mistake. If I had to go back and do it again, I wouldn't do this. I think you don't screw around here. Colossus is so strong for so many reasons. You should just take it and move on with your day. But I was trying to experiment a little bit with different openings, so I stole the Engineering Genius from Mattil, and I looked to build the University for my first wonder of the game. My first draw kind of sucks. It's Tactics, which, is nice, and a defense card, but no events to play, so that's very sad. So Mattil plays an event, and it's the best thing it could have possibly been. I mean, I get very lucky here. The Development of Politics normally is sort of like a whatever event, but here, I actually have a chance of drawing playable events, and on top of, did I freeze? I froze the replay app. I tried to press enter and click, but instead I just clicked. Okay, that wasn't too bad. My cards are 2 colonies. I peeled 2 colonies right off the top of the deck, and it's kind of crazy because there are only 6 colonies in Age 1. Age 2 actually has more. It's 7 because it's the improved versions of the Age 1s plus the autonomous territory. But Age 1, there's only 6, and I drew a third of them in a single draw. It's honestly just wild probability. And now I'm going to shove them both in there. And now I'm like, oh, crap! I wish I had taken the Colossus. On the plus side, there is a cartography here. So if Mattil is kind enough to take this rich land A, then I can take the cartography for 1 action, and I can actually have a really good chance of getting these colonies despite having thrown away the Colossus. So he makes a worker, builds a stage of the Colosseum, builds another stage of the Colosseum, and then takes the rich land. And I was like, would I have taken cartography for 2 actions? I probably just would have had to. I think if like this is your hand, you have no events to play except colonies, you just got to suck it up and take the cartography for 2. And then, well, it's tough, man. If you take the cartography for 2 and you take the university for 1, then you only have 1 action left. You raise population, but you're not building a lab. Oh, God, that hurts, man. I still would have done it, but it hurts. Now, I don't think Mattil did anything wrong. You don't know that cartography is going to be hot in demand, and your opponent did just pass on the Colossus, so I think it's fine to take rich land here over these 2 more garbagey cards. But you know what I'm going to say, though, about this turn? The Colossus is not a wonder that needs to be rushed, so Mattil threw away a science for no reason. That's still my opinion. We'll hold fast to it till the day I die. All right, he passes the turn. I'm delighted. I get a little bit of a save with the cartography landing on 1 action, so I play both colonies in there. First, we get a free worker, and then we get free stuff. And honestly, it's a tricky one because let's say I had to take cartography for 2 actions and take the university for 1. With the free worker, I would have been able to make a lab and take university and cartography, though I would have been corrupt, which feels unpalatable. So, yeah. No, it's just really good that cartography is here for 1. It makes a huge difference. So I take it. I take the university. I raise population with regality. I build a lab to get out of corruption and to not throw science away. And then I pass the turn. So I'm hoping to draw some more events, and I get 2 more colony. All the events that I've drawn so far that are playable are colonies. I've drawn 2/3 of all of the colonies in Age 1. I mean, look at the Age 1 deck. It's a big deck. There's a lot of stuff in it. I drew 4 of the 6 colonies, and the cartography landed on the 1 action spot for me. So it's definitely a lucky start today. Mattil plays an event. It's 2 science. Remember, he's Confucius, so he's always going to play events. And so now the 2 colonies are in there. The deck flips over. He finishes the Colosseum, grabs Saladin, replaces Confucius, which makes sense. This is a very early Saladin. Getting an extra action this early is really, really strong. He raises population, and he still has an action left over, and he grabs the other rich land. So now he's really ready to get those irons going with these rich lands. And, of course, also now he's thrown away 2 science. Now he is getting something for it. He's getting a military action. But would you rather have a military action right now or 2 science? I think we all know what Papa Boris would pick. So now it's my turn. And I really had to decide if I wanted this alchemy or not, because I am building the university. So is the alchemy really, really necessary? I do have, a lot of resources I have to spend this turn to get out of corruption. But, I could take the turn, take alchemy, research it, upgrade lab, and then, let's say, build a Stage of the Wonder, or just even raise population in case Mattil put rats in there. Ultimately, first of all, I decided not to play any events, because 2 of the cards in here are colonies, and I don't want to flip. I could say, well, I have a defense card, I'm bidding 2. Mattil would have to have drawn 2 defense cards to beat me, but I decided not to risk it. Maybe it would have been correct to risk it, because the possibility of beating the tiebreak and the 50-50 chance of it not being a colony at all is probably worth it to get the events flowing. But I decided to pass. I raise population. I build a warrior. I play the fighting band to get ahead in case Mattil did play some strength-based stuff, and I'm also trying to pressure him to use Saladin for 2 strength to take away his extra action. And I take the swordsman. I decide to not go for alchemy. My thinking is that I want to make swordsmen because swordsmen, when you bid them for colonies, give you 2 bidding power instead of 1. This will make it easier for me to win colonies with our cartography and not have to rely on defense cards or just like rebuilding 2 units every single time. And let's get started on this Engineering Genius A. If I'm lucky and Mattil put like the deposits in there, which granted is not that likely, but if he did put something that gives rocks like the Border Conflict or the Foray or the deposits, so there's a few cards that will do this, I can actually build this next turn. But it's not without some misgivings that I pass on alchemy. I could have taken it instead of building the first stage. Could have taken it instead of the swords. I throw away everything but the defense card in my 2 colonies. I draw the Legion tactic, which could be useful, though probably Fighting Band is better. Mattil grabs the Code of Laws. He does have some science saved up. He makes it. He makes a warrior, so he's not falling too far behind. He builds his other lab, so, this could have been built 2 turns ago, and he'd have two more science right now. He's also going to grab the iron, which he will have enough science to research next time, and his last action's a little weak, but he takes the bread and circus for the future so that he can fix his happy faces. In this game, we do not have Pierre, so it is just a happy face solution down the road. Now, on my turn, oh, by the way, he also does take 2 strength with Saladin. Even though he has 3 military actions, he decides, I don't know, because with Caesar, you know, if I have 2 aggressions here, I could play them both, and he cannot throw 3 cards away 2 times, so it's a sign that maybe he doesn't have defense cards, or maybe he just doesn't want me to spend my military action to make him throw away his defense cards. So on my turn, I decide to play an event, and it is not a colony, it's rebellion. Worst case scenario here, I lose half my turn. And then I play another one, and it is not a colony. It's a free science. So it was a little bit unlucky. I mean, I got 4 out of the 6 colonies, which is lucky, but then the 2 colonies that I put in are on the bottom of the deck, which is unlucky. Now, weirdly, this wasn't going to be that great of a turn anyway. All I really wanted to do was take Isabella, make another warrior, and raise population. I decided it's time to get rid of Caesar, because he's done his job, he drew me the colonies, and now I want to make an extra rock every turn. This is also important in the short term because 2 + 4 is 6, which is how many rocks I need to finish this misbegotten university that I could have finished a lot more easily if it had been the Colossus instead. So with 2 extra actions, what would I have done? I mean, it certainly sucks I lost 2 actions. Don't you get me wrong. It would have been, you know, breakthrough in rich land or breakthrough in urban growth, and certainly 2 science is a good thing to have. But of all the times I've lost 2 actions when having only 4 actions, I mean, that was really not the worst that it could have possibly been. Alright, so now I know that these 2 things are colonies, and I'm hoping Mathiel plays an event. He doesn't. He researches iron, he upgrades a mine, grabs the knights, and then takes a rich land. He gets a little bit unlucky here, because if he doesn't take the knights, I will take this copy, which will be sitting there, and then this copy from the bitch spot will disappear, so then he ends up not getting knights during the age at all. Now, it's close to the end of age 2, so, you know, maybe he took this because he had some tactic, or maybe he had some military ambitions. Maybe he didn't want to risk having to wait for the horses. There are 2 copies in age 2, but he's playing it safe here. And that's good for him. It's also good for me that he spent 2 actions taking that card. I finished the university, and I'm trying to figure out what to do here, because I could take iron. This is the 2nd copy, and if I don't take it now, it falls away forever. And to be fair, there's not that much to do with my actions. However, I decided to grab the urban growth and the other copy of knights. I do have the phalanx here, and since Mathiel took knights, if I don't take knights, and he does get a good knights tactic, then I could be in trouble. So my thinking is, I'll do this, I'll give up the iron, maybe wait for the coal, I'll kind of take this as an insurance policy in case Mathiel has some strength-based intentions, and I do have an extra rock from Isabella until I replace her, so that tides me over until I can fix my rocks. Anyway, I throw my tactics away, so I'm going to have to copy the tactic if Mathiel plays it, but I really wanted to keep the defense card so I could win all the colonies that I put in there. There's 4 of them. Alright, so Mathiel plays an event, and it is a colony. So I win it. The question is, 1 warrior, 2 colony from the cartography, and it would have been 3 if I had the four total if I had the Colossus, but instead I'm 1 short. So do I pay a rock with Isabella's ability, or do I pay a defense card? I'm not 100% sure if I made the right call here. I decide to spend a rock because I know that there's more colonies coming, and if there's a good one that Mathiel really wants, I might have to go all the way with it with the rock and the defense cards. Now that does mean I have to throw something away, or which I wouldn't have had to do if I had spent the defense card here, and I could have also paid 3 rocks later to get 2 strength, so I'm not actually sure if that was the right call, but it's what I choose to do. So now Mathiel plays the knights, he builds a knight, he upgrades a mine, and I'm holding my breath, waiting to see, hey, is he gonna play the phalanx here? He upgrades the other mine, he takes irrigation, and he takes swordsman, and no phalanx. So I catch a little bit of a break here. He doesn't have the 3 strength tactic, or even the 2 strength tactic, so I am behind, but not uncomfortably so. It definitely would have been behind to an uncomfortable degree if he had 8 strength here instead of 6, because then I would have needed both defense cards to ward off aggressions, and he probably would have gone for it. And if I spend any defense cards to win the colonies, then I would be vulnerable. So I do catch a little bit of a break here that he did not get that tactic, despite having the Colosseum and 3 military actions, drawing lots of cards in age 1. Alright, it's my turn to play an event. It's the vast territory, which is the cream of the crop, and Mathiel does go all in but luckily I'm able to beat him. My bid was actually higher than this. I had a lot of room to go. If I throw away both these guys, that's 2, plus the tactic is 3, plus the cartography is 5, 6, 7. Isabella makes 8. I mean, I was willing to go all in, obviously, for a vast territory. 1 second, please. Okay, everything's fine. Now, what do I spend here? Well, I still only spend 1 warrior, and I guess my decision to hold the defense card pays off, because now I spend 2 and just 1 rock from Isabella to win the colony. I get to keep the other warrior, and if you spend 3 rocks with Isabella to get 2 strength, then you're getting a worse ratio than spending 1 rock once, which is what I did instead to save a defense card last time. So I have a lot of stuff to spend here. Luckily, thanks to Isabella's 2 blue tokens and the wealthy territories 3, I can actually hold quite a lot of stuff and still be alright. I grab masonry. I think it's very important here, not just because I have enough science to research it, but because there's some wonders coming that could be of interest, especially Suez Canal. If I win all 4 colonies, this is 4 rocks per turn, and if I get a little bit lucky one more time and draw another colony in H2, then I can also put down a really strong colony and be making 5 rocks per turn plus the effects of the colony. So I've definitely got my eye on it. I don't research it yet because it doesn't do anything for me yet. I research the swordsman, make a swordsman, raise population, make another swordsman. This is an important tactic to think about sometimes. It's not just that I'm getting ahead on strength in case Mathilde puts strength-based events in here, and also my own foray that I put in there, which is strength-based. That is important. But on top of that, if you know that there are colonies in there and you're going to be bidding warriors to win the colonies, then building an extra warrior can be helpful so that you can do it prophylactically, use up all your military actions, and not have to scramble to rebuild in the future. I definitely want to use both military actions now so that I miss age 1 draws instead of missing draws in H2. Now, what to do with my last action? Well, I decided to play it safe and take irrigation. My thinking is, yeah, selective breeding is better, but Mathilde has not gone for the irrigation yet, so he might still take selective breeding. There's only 1 copy. Who knows where it is? Let's just play it safe. Let's make sure I'm not running out of food, and let's grab this copy of the food tech so it's available. All right, on his turn, Mathilde ushers us into H2, and how's he going to start this thing? Well, he plays an event, and it's my foray, so I get some resources, which is fantastic. He grabs the alchemy for 2, which is bold because we are in H2. It's pretty late to be paying 2 actions for the science tech, but he wants some science. He also wants the engineering genius. He does the medieval army, and he actually passes the turn. He is not using Saladin for a civil action. Actually, I don't remember if he... No, he wasn't. He already had the 2... Did he? Yeah, he already had the 2 strength. He had 6. He got the medieval army this turn, so he must have drawn it last turn. So that's what made him go up to 8. So he's been using the 2 strength the whole time. This is just an action he couldn't spend because all his cards are tech cards and doesn't have any science. Now, I still might have... And it must have felt really bad to think about taking Breakthrough instead of Engineering Genius and having 2 actions left over. But, wait a minute. Why didn't he spend his last action to make a population? There's always something. Always something I miss. He has 5 actions. He's spent 4 of them taking these cards, and then he leaves a 5th. He had 6 food. He made 7. Why didn't he raise population? I don't know why he didn't raise population. He could have raised population. It would have been unhappy. But we already had the rebellion. Unhappiness cannot possibly matter in an Age 1 event if Rebellion has already come and gone. Maybe he forgot about Rebellion? I actually can't believe I never noticed this. Yeah, he could have just raised population. I mean, he didn't have to take this speculative engineering genius. He could have taken Breakthrough for the science he desperately needs. Raised population, built a temple. Oh, no, he doesn't have the rocks, right. The rocks are... No, he had the rocks. This thing has not made the rocks yet. Okay, well, all right, Boris is just stumbling along. Yes, he had the rocks. He could have raised population, made a temple, gotten some culture going, gotten a happy face. Maybe he thought, oh, I don't want temples, so I want bread and circuses. So I guess he didn't have to make the temple. But yeah, he had an extra action he could have spent, and then taking Breakthrough would have been fine. Curious. Most curious indeed. All right, I get a little lucky here because he finds the medieval army a turn too late to swipe the foray from me. So I get the foray. I don't have any events to play. I research the masonry, raise population, do irrigation, upgrade a farm to get out of corruption, and I choose not to upgrade a sword because the foray is already gone. I didn't put any other strength-based stuff in there, and I decide let's just get 2 H2 draws. I really want to find events to play to move the event deck along, and I also want to find colonies for the eventual Suez. If Suez wasn't in the game, I would definitely have taken the Silk Road here, because it's just a really good wonder, and I have the masonry to help build it fast, and of course also the rocks. But with the Suez Canal in the game, I definitely want to leave myself open to it. Even if I take it and finish it before the Suez Canal shows up, still, it now means an extra action to actually pick up the Suez, and I am kind of struggling here on 4 actions. I didn't get Code of Laws. Justice system isn't here yet. No governments are here yet, so I don't know when they're coming, and I thought it was better not to take the risk. Alas, no colony, but I do have an event that I can play. Mathiel plays an event, and it's Knowledge of the Ancients, so he does get an extra science than me because I built an Age 1 wonder and I skipped the Age A. On his turn, he researches alchemy, upgrades a lab, grabs Robespierre, and replaces Saladin with him, interestingly. He raises population 2 times and makes another knight. It's a tough call here. With Robespierre, all he's getting is an extra card draw. And obviously I don't think that's worth an extra civil action. But he has a bit of a hand space problem. And if he doesn't replace Saladin, then his hand is full. And that was a problem last turn for him as well. But in this case, Mathiel, when he played Robespierre, he got his action back. So he didn't actually end up using any actions to take cards. His hand is not full now, so he didn't have to play Robespierre. So, and also in the future, if he ends up running out of hand space, well then he can play Robespierre. So I think that he kind of messed up a little bit here. There was just no reason. Well, I mean, there is a reason, but it's not a good enough reason to give up a civil action just to draw an extra card from H2. So here I have some really interesting options, and it was a tough turn for me. I really agonized over this one. So there's Harvard College, and we say a good option now is better than the best option later. I could take this and build it right now. I could take it for 2 actions, spend 2 actions, build it, boom, my science is up to 7. I mean, that's pretty good. But there's also strategy here, which is a very important card because I am behind on strength. I don't have military actions yet. I may end up having to get Republic instead of Constitutional Monarchy, and then the strategy is really, really crucial. If I don't take it and it drops down to 1, well, Mathiel's got a bit of a science problem. He might not actually take it, but he could take it with the breakthrough, upgrade a lab, and then look forward to, powering it out at some point. It's a bit tough for him because he would fill up his hand, right? These 2 cards would fill his hand up, so he has to research something first, then fill up his hand, but then he only has, let's say, 2 science left over after researching one of these 3 science cards, then 2 plus 3 is 5, so it's tough for him to take this and breakthrough. So I could have gambled on it to wheel. I just really didn't want to do that. And also, I know Suez Canal is coming. In fact, there it is. So I decide to, with a heavy heart, pass on the Harvard College and instead take strategy, research strategy, make a population, build another sword, not just upgrade the warrior, but build one because I know that 2 more colonies are coming. It actually happened twice. I put 2 colonies into the pile, and they were the 2 last cards in the deck. So I can't complain about luck because I was lucky to draw 4 colonies in the first place in Age 1, but in this particular case, it did not come out in an ideal order. So since they're both still in there, I know I'm going to want to potentially, blow up a couple of units of the military to make sure I win those colonies and make the Suez Canal as big as possible. Maybe you could say I should have just given up on the Suez plan, but I decided to go for it. I'm hoping to draw a colony, and I do not. Although I do have the classic army, so if I can finagle it to somehow get 2 knights and surprise Mathiel with this, then I could potentially steal some yellow tokens from him. He plays an event. It's a strategic territory, which is really good. I really wanted this to come up so that I could draw 3 more cards and maybe get 1 more chance to build or to get a colony from H2. I do win it for the low price of an Age A warrior, the cartography bonus, and a single defense card. Unfortunately, the defense cards or the military cards I draw are not colonies. So now I have a tough choice to make. Do I take Suez Canal and build it without a colony? Do I take it and wait and try to get 1 more colony? Or do I just decide not to take it or build it at all? Mathiel does not swipe the Suez Canal, which makes sense. He may have a colony here, but even if he does, it's not giving him the most value. It's hard to take under construction. It costs an extra action for him to make it. So he takes the Harvard College, which is really good, and he desperately needs the science. In fact, he can actually build it this turn, but he chooses to wait and instead grab Engineering Genius and upgrade a lab. It's a tough call for me here because he could have finished it without the Engineering Genius. He had 10 rocks before building the lab. That would have given him 2 extra science this turn and 1 extra culture. As opposed to building the lab, it also would have saved him one of his civil action debts. Instead, he went a little deeper into civil action debt by taking the Genius. On the other hand, 6 rocks does kind of run out of steam by this point in the game, and so getting 4 rocks for an action is very strong. Notice all the while he could have had an extra action from Saladin. He still has not ever actually gone above his hand limit, but he has ropes here, just sitting here instead doing basically nothing. I play an event. It's developed territory. I win it with just a single sword, and I decide to just stop screwing around and take and build the Suez Canal. It sucks not having a colony, but it does increase my rock production by 4, and it sucks. It sucks a bag of ducks. I would have liked Organized Religion to fix my happy faces. I would have liked cannons for tactics. I have the fortifications here, which would have been really good. I think pound for pound, this is actually better than Classic Army. It's just if you get an airplane, the Classic Army is a little bit better, but this is just really, really nice. It's super efficient. But cannons are both here, and if I'm building the Suez Canal, I can't take them. I definitely thought about it. I also wanted this breakthrough. There's just like a lot of good stuff here, but I decided in the end just to suck it up, close my eyes, plug my ears, shove my fingers in my nose, and just do this. And then now, okay, I got my rocks fixed for the game, and we can just see what happens next turn. And of course, I get a vast territory right after finishing Suez Canal. Although if I had the Colossus, which draws you 3 extra cards every age, maybe I would have seen this. All right, Mathilde plays an event. It's Raiders, so he raids himself. I do get lucky with the placement of the strength-based events, at least, if nothing else. He finishes the Harvard College, and I was waiting to see if he would take the navigation. It is 2 strength. He might think, oh, well, maybe Boris is done putting colonies in there. Maybe this doesn't do anything anymore. So he grabs the cannon, researches Bread and Circus, and just makes a Bread and Circus to tie me so that at least on his turn, he wins strength-based events, and he's got his happy faces fixed, which he's going to need pretty soon. All right, so it's my turn, and I play an event, not the colony, and it's rats. So Mathilde raided himself, and I ratted myself. I lose 6 food, which is horrifying. If I had not had the rats, I could have raised population twice and researched knights and made 2 knights and then gotten ready to do my surprise war over territory. I don't know if Mathilde had any concept of the fact that he got saved from a world-class whooping because of these rats. Now, I can't really do it. So I take the Republic instead, which maybe would have been the smarter move anyway because I really do need to get my actions fixed and I cannot Republic and Knights in the same turn. And with my 3 remaining actions, I grab the Breakthrough for some more science because I am going to need some pretty soon, and I upgrade my other my other farm. So next turn I can make a population, but not quite 2, so I still am having a bit of a hard time getting 2 Knights online for my Classic Army War over Territory surprise. All right, we get some more strength-based events, and this ends up being somewhat important in this game. Mathilde plays an event, and it's emigration, so nothing happens. Thankfully, all my my full bank, the fact that I didn't get a worker out means I don't lose that worker to emigration. He researches irrigation because selective breeding did turn out to be quite near the bottom of the deck. He upgrades both farms to get his food going because he now really desperately needs it. He researches the swords, upgrades 1 sword, and grabs the patriotism, so now he's ahead of me. So if this is a strength-based event, then I cannot play it. On my turn, I do put Politics of Strength in there because I knew that it was national pride, so I just get 5 points. I actually tie him on points from the 2 points I get playing the event, so I just barely win this. If that had not been the case, I of course would not have played the event. And now the question is, what am I going to do with my day? There is coal here, but science is a bit of an issue. I decided to stick it with bronze mines this game. Could be correct, could be incorrect. Thought about taking and researching scientific method and just upgrading both labs in order to fix my science. That's a consideration. However, annoyingly, even with this breakthrough, I am 1 science short of being able to do scientific method and knights, and ultimately I decided I really, really wanted to get these knights down because I need to get my classic army going. I think I'm going to run out of time here. The window is going to close on me being able to actually confidently win a war against Mathilde, but he, has cannons. He has all age 1 tactics available. God forbid he has a Napoleonic army. So, I just need to start thinking about my own defense, even if the war over territory with the classic army is not going to be happening. I make a knight, I grab opera, I make a population to get it out of here before I lose the yellow token from the H changing over. I grabbed Napoleon just for temporary purposes. I could have taken Shakespeare or, well, okay, Shakespeare's sort of stupid. He would have done nothing. It would have been a happy face, which is not nothing, but I decided 4 strength is better than a happy face. I could have waited for Gaudi, but I decided again, let's just get the strength. I put some strength-based events in here, so this is more likely for me to win one and sneak it out before Mathilde can catch me on strength. I don't want to wait for Gaudi. And then these grabs are basically me just trying to be flexible and open to any of the age 3 leaders that can come out. I'm not looking for a long-term Napoleon here. I'm just trying to, get 4 strength and some value out of his military action before I switch over as soon as possible. So the scientific method is here in case Sid Meier or Einstein come out early. The opera is for Marlene if she comes out early. And the journalism is for Ian if he comes out early. And I'm not above taking Gandhi or Mandela either. I'm basically just going to take any leader now that I can possibly get my hands on. I wanted these team sports, and it was a close call to take the team sports or the opera. I ultimately decided this way there's a chance the team sports wheels. There's a chance Mathilde doesn't want them because he already has bread and circuses researched and built. And the opera he would definitely want because he's got great rocks, great science. Well, rock production, not great, but rock saved up is great. Science is great. He wants a way to turn rocks into points, and the opera feels like too good of a thing to leave for him. So that's why I chose the opera for the 2 actions here instead of the team sports. All right, I do take the corruption, which kind of sucks, but I have a lot of rocks saved up. I get more colonies, including the autonomous territory, which I would have liked to have, and this is just strategic, which would have been great. So it's just a colony parade here. Mathilde grabs the Conmon. He revolutionizes it with Mathilde. Revolutionizes it with himself. He revolutionizes it with Robespierre. He then puts the Transcontinental Railroad under construction and grabs architecture, which made me very, very nervous. The architecture helps you make it with 6 rocks, and of course it also kind of pays for itself action-wise, if not science-wise, with the Transcontinental Railroad, so I'm very nervous now. I got some strength-based events in here, like the Politics of Strength, so I need to get those out before Mathilde can have a chance to screw me with them. We hit age 3, and let's take a quick look here. We haven't actually spent almost any time opening this menu. So basically, right now we're about the same on culture. He's beating me on science, about the same on rocks, and about the same on food, although I have a much deeper bank because unlike him, I won 3 yellow tokens from colonies. And the fact that I have all these blue tokens is not irrelevant. I actually missed a rock last turn by running out of blue tokens from the supply, but it was only 1, so it wasn't a huge deal, so the blue tokens are actually mattering quite a bit. So my game plan here is switch to a leader and generate culture as soon as humanly possible, and then use the classic army and an airplane to try to hang on for dear life. Now, a classic army made out of knights and swords and an airplane is not really enough to survive. Mathilde's going to have 5 strength coming here. That neutralizes my static strength from the strategy and the cartography, which is 4. So we're about equal on the static strength. He just needs to get a tactic online with these cannons or with the age 3 military technologies. He also has 5 strength he can get from the military theory. I don't have that option. I've already got strategy. I mean, I could research military theory, but it would be very expensive, and it would only be 2 strength rather than the 5 it is for Mathilde. So it's really nerve-wracking. I was not feeling amazing about my position in here because I failed to find the time to generate a culture lead. I was on 4 actions for so long and invested so much in the Suez Canal that it's basically just kind of still paying itself off at this point. And it was going to be tricky. With my science deficit compared to my opponent, both how much I've saved up and how much I make, it was going to be tricky to get the technologies I needed to get a culture lead and still then be able to pull enough workers out of here to keep my army up so that I don't just get crushed by a war over culture. So that's where we're at. And now the question is, what do I do with my turn? Well, we look at the leaders that are coming out here, and there's Ian Fleming. First leader to show up, 3rd card in the deck. I'm like, all right, this is my move. This is what I'm going to do. So I play an event mostly because I'm just desperately trying to get these cards out before I fall behind on strength. And I probably should have just played popularization of science. I put international negotiations in here. That's a strength-based event. It's not great, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to lose it by the time it shows up. So I'm actually not sure why I put it in there when I had this safe event available. Yes, it would have given Mateel more strength or more culture compared to me, but I'd rather that than him stealing 3 rocks, 3 food, or 3 science, which if he flips it on his turn is his choice. I could have also played the Civil Unrest. As we're going to see, I'm pretty safe as far as happy faces go after this turn, so that would have actually also been a very reasonable choice. As it is, we get Crime Wave, which I'm happy to see, so I don't get hit by that at least before falling behind on strength. I raise population, I research opera, and I actually cash out all my rocks to make 2 operas. It's a little risky, but the way I see it is I can take Revolutionary Idea to fix my science, and I can take reserves to fix the rocks. The Wave of Nationalism, you might say, oh, if you're worried about falling behind, shouldn't you take this? That's true. It also deprives Mateel of the ability to use it while he is behind in order to get ahead. So it was not without some misgivings that I took the reserves, but I decided this is more flexible. I could use it to do something else, like help with a wonder or build another building. And it would be a little bit tough for me to actually have enough workers out to use the Wave of Nationalism fully. So I took the reserves. But maybe you can say, how hard is that really? If you get in any H3 military technology, the 6 rocks from this are completely going to be used. And that's not just the rockets. If you do modern infantry or tanks, upgrading from an H2 to an H3 costs 4 rocks. So this would pay for a full upgrade and half of the next one. So no matter what H3 military technology I get, the upgrades potential, it makes this Wave of Nationalism usable. And maybe I should have done that. I have 5 actions, military actions, thanks to Napoleon, so it costs me nothing to make this dinky little switch to get 1 extra strength. And then I pass the turn. I'm hoping Mateel plays another event, and the Politics of Strength comes out here. He does play an event, but it's the arms industry. And we both get 4 rocks, which is great, because, you know, who doesn't want rocks? But it does mean that now we've got 2 strength-based events in there. He researches the architecture. He builds the Transcontinental Railroad, raises population, grabs the wave that I left for him, and the efficient upgrade, and he makes an arena and upgrades the sword. So now I can't play events because I know for a fact I am getting dicked if I do that. So it's a pretty scary situation here. My turn is kind of complicated now because there's a military theory. There's only 1 copy of this in Age 3, so obviously I would have liked to hate draft that. There's also an Air Force. There's 2 of them in Age 3. But I don't know when the other one is coming, so obviously I want to take that. And I also want to take Ian Fleming. Now, I could do all of the above, but with this Age 2 revolutionary idea, I am 1 science short of researching... Sorry, I'm 2 science short of researching airplanes. I don't want to research military theory because it's upgrading over a strategy. So if we actually look at it, I'm running into some hand space issues. I can take 3 cards for 5 actions, and then what am I doing really here? I could play Revolutionary Idea for a 6, but now I'm staring Corruption down the barrel. And I could, of course, make a worker and then make another opera, or research journalism, make a worker and make a journalist. But I'm a little nervous about committing all these rocks to urban buildings when, yes, I have taken away these cards, but I was just scared with the rockets coming and with Mateel having cannons, so hate drafting rockets doesn't do anything, that he was going to get a tactic down and just beat me. Maybe I was chasing ghosts. Maybe all I had to do here was just take these 3 cards, hate away the military, grab the air forces while it's there, and just, you know, carry on with my day. But what I really got obsessed with is the idea of making an air force. If you take it, research it, you have to play a revolutionary idea. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 actions to get it down, 5 to make a worker. Now hate drafting military theory would be 6, 7, so I'm passing up Ian Fleming, and I just didn't want to do that. Now, I didn't have to make an airplane this turn, so I think if I had to go back, I would do the hate draft. But instead, I decided to just make a knight, play the classic army just to be ahead so I can try to win these strength-based events that are in here. Then take Ian Fleming, play him, so I'm still ahead thanks to classic army, grab the organized religion to fix my happy faces potentially later, grab the revolutionary idea for science because I need it. Now, I would have taken the H3 reserves, but I'm out of hand space, so I played the H2 revolutionary idea just to get it out of my hand. and pass the turn. I'm really not confident that I made the right choices on this one. I think as cool as it was to take this revolutionary idea and play the other one, hate drafting the military theory would have ultimately been better for me. It's like I'm spending 2 actions to lower my opponent's strength by 5. It's not quite correct because he is also saving 7 science in 2 actions by not taking it and researching it, but it would have been significant this game, and so I think I made a blunder here chasing these yellows instead of taking away a crucial card from my opponent, which I was lucky enough to have the chance to do at only 2 actions. I'm corrupt again. Pass the turn. Mathiel does not play an event, which I was very sad to see. And he makes a turn that I was absolutely horrified by. He takes military theory, he researches it, and the Manhattan Project landed here for him at the 2 action spot, which is enough, just enough to take the theory, research it, and put it under construction. And he can build it next turn in 1 action with architecture. So now I am sweating bricks, and I am really displeased with what is happening. Plus, also, he's going to be able to now, with his just ridiculous excess of military actions, copy my classic army for an extra 4 strength. God forbid airplanes shows up. He can make an airplane. Well, yeah, action-wise, it's getting a little tricky. Say airplanes comes in here. What is this? 1, 2, 3 actions to research airplanes, 4 to blow up a lab to make a worker, 5 to play Wave of Nationalism. Yeah, and then 6 to build the Manhattan Project. He could have researched airplanes, copied classic army, and built the Manhattan Project all next turn. So I was really, really worried at this point that the game wasn't going to end fast enough before Mathiel just completely ground me into the dust. Well, I can't play an event because these are 2 really awful strength-based events in here. There's a refugees that I put in, and there's a politics of strength that I put in. So I cannot play events. I research the airplanes. I make a worker. Notice how I'm running out of workers here. I need the happy faces. If I'd had that vast territory, then this would be covered, but alas, it is not. I make an airplane so that I'm temporarily ahead, but this is not nearly as strong as this looks because I am quaking in my boots. In the blink of an eye, he's going to shoot past me and then also be a strong contender to pull off some wars. So at least for once in my life, I am actually not corrupt. What do? Well, I play the revolutionary idea, which allows me to research journalism. I blow up a lab, and I turn it into a journalist. It's a little bit committal, but this is worth 4 culture per turn. And I'm just like, we gotta just get a big culture lead here. I'm getting 12 extra culture per turn. I'm already 20 culture ahead. I mean, if you count my culture this turn, I'm actually like 30 culture ahead. And I was just hoping that I could stay close enough in strength that when he declared war on me, that I wouldn't lose the game because of that war. I've seen that happen. I've been on the winning end of that. I've been on the losing end of that. There's been plenty of games where a war goes off, but it's just not big enough to make up the culture gap in a 2-player game. So that was my strategy. I figured let's just go for it here. I could still get lucky. He could still play an event. I could still get politics of strength out for some more events. Or the better one would be refugees, which would be really, really strong because it would give me a worker and 3 culture, and he would lose a worker and lose 3 culture. That is a huge swing in a 2-player game because the winner gets 6 culture ahead. So that means that the difference in you winning it and your opponent winning it is you getting 6 culture ahead or them getting 6 culture ahead. So it's a 12-point swing, which is like a small wonder. So I was really hoping that would be up first if Mathiel played an event at all. And I just had to, at this point, grab that patriotism to beef up my shadow army a little bit and let Jesus take the wheel and hope. One thing that was bad about this turn is I didn't take any cards off the row besides the ones that were already going to come off, so I wasn't helping the game end sooner, which I desperately needed. All right, I have a sigh of relief. There's no airplanes, at least. And Mathiel plays an event, and it is the better of the 2, so I win luck, finally, with the event ordering. I get the, essentially, 12 points from this, not to mention the population gain and loss, so that hit hard. He loses a farm. And at this point, I'm not sure if I'm correct in this, but I think Mathiel had a knee-jerk reaction to losing that farm from the refugees. He just took the mechanized agriculture, researched it, and upgraded a farm to fix his food. That's a lot of science. It's a lot of actions that he's spending on this. And he did still have 2 labs here that he could have used for workers. Not to mention, he's got the Transcontinental Railroad. He can also pop in his mines. So he's got some workers that he could still bear to lose. Maybe it wouldn't have been enough to get a big enough war to beat me. So, he's trying to fix his food using his science and actions while he can to get as many workers as possible. But I think maybe it was not necessary to do this. On the other hand, you could say, what else is there for him to do? He got unlucky, no airplanes showing up here. So it's a little bit difficult for him to actually mount a big enough strength lead to actually make a War of a Culture meaningful. He also seems to have not gotten any tactics because he never researched the canon or played any tactics from H2, so I perhaps got lucky with the card draw for him. He gets 7 points and 13 strength for building the Manhattan Project. He has 3 actions left over. He decides to grab the movies and the efficient upgrade. I was a little bit puzzled by this because the efficient upgrade is not really upgrading anything. He already upgraded his farm, and the movies don't upgrade. The reserves, on the other hand, your opponent desperately needs those because he needs rocks to desperately ward off any possible wars you might have against him, and it seems like the reserves would also be easier for him to use. So I do think he messed up taking the wrong yellow card here. I was very happy to see the reserves would be left for me, but he is now 6 strength ahead. This is a politics of strength, so I cannot play an event. I mean, I can, but I definitely don't want to lose my card draw and have him get 5 extra cards and possibly get a War of a Culture that he maybe doesn't have yet. On my end of things, I've gotten 1 War of a Culture, so, it's actually, hold on a second. I have Ian Fleming, and I did use him the previous turn, actually, to look at his cards. So, let me just show that here. I take in Fleming, I choose him as the leader, and then a round later... Oh, hang on. Did I just play him? No, there it is. That's it. Boris used Ian Fleming to look at Matilda's military cards. There we go. We finally saw it. Yeah, so I did look at his cards, and I knew that he had a very weird hand. He had War Over Culture, and he had like a gazillion defense cards. So like he and I just like drew all the defense cards out of here. So I knew that he had the war. I knew that it was coming. And so I thought... So I was talking about the politics of strength. I thought that it would be better if it was going to flip at all for it to flip as late as possible, because that way I might finagle it so that I actually lose my card draw in age 4 when it doesn't actually hurt me to. But if I trigger the event in age 3, then I could lose my card draw that wouldn't have mattered that much, and we stop it from triggering in age 4 when he would steal culture from me. I don't know if that commentary made any sense, but the point is that Matil's turn's over. It's over to me. I can't play an event. So what I decided to do here is I played the reserves, made a worker, played the patriotism, made an airplane, and then I blew up my other lab, so I've used up all my worker battery, and I just made a raw sword to just stop Matil from playing an event. So if he plays it, then he is going to screw himself over with the politics of strength. And one of these is the international negotiations, which I really should not have put in, so there's still going to be a strength-based event flipping over to the top. So I was still very nervous, and I definitely should not have put that in there. But at least this way, we can delay it by a turn, the politics of strength flipping over, and I figured, if my previous commentary made no sense, that at the very least, having the politics of strength happen as late as possible would be good. Okay, what else to do with my 3 actions? Well, I thought about taking the pro sports. It would be a great way to fix my happy faces because it also gives strength. In fact, I tried to find a way to use it this turn. It just wasn't happening. Ultimately, I decided against it. I just took the reserves, and then I took this. This was never going to happen, ever. I'm just taking it to move the game along, to have 1 more card come out of here. It actually ends up being important to get as many cards out of here as possible. I did not want to take engineering because I wanted actually to have the option to take Hollywood. It's not impossible that I build it this game, and if he does, for example, do a War of Culture on me, this is pretty big, with 2 operas and 1 journalist. If you think about it, this is 3, 6, 8 culture, and then Fleming adds 2 to each of them, so that's 12, and that's a 24-point Hollywood. And there's an engineering genius to go with it, and I got these reserves that Matil puzzlingly left for me. So with that, I thought there was a decent chance I could make it and make up some or all of the culture I lose to a war, and I passed the turn. So I was waiting to see if Matil could find a way with these tanks to put a war together, but unluckily for him, still no airplanes, and he does flip the event deck over, so I do sneak by with 1 strength and win the politics of strength. So he doesn't draw cards here, and I do draw 5 cards. There's a very good synergy with that in Ian. So Ian can look at his opponent's cards, but only once every other turn. However, if your opponent skips their card draw, then you actually have the knowledge for a good long while. Now, Matil has a tough situation here. What he decides to do is grab the tanks, research them, play the wave of nationalism because he's 1 strength behind, and a patriotism, so now he's got 9 rocks to work with. He upgrades 1 tank, he upgrades another tank. He disbands a swordsman, makes a knight, disbands the other swordsman, makes another knight, and he actually did have a tactic from H2. It just kind of sucked when he only had knights, the hussars. It was a bit of an odd move. I'm not exactly sure why he disbanded the swordsman instead of raising population. I mean, he does hate draft the pro sports away from me, so there's that. And maybe with the efficient upgrade, he could use it himself for some extra strength. But I think just raising population, or hell, even just blowing up a lab, makes more sense than blowing up the swordsman, because the swordsmen are providing some strength, and every strength really counts when you do a war. Now, the problem with his move of hate drafting pro sports is that after his turn is over, there are only 6 cards left in the deck. And that means that if I can take 3 cards off the row that are not in the clear away spot, I actually trigger the end of the game. And that is the most important thing for me to do because, of course, doing that denies Mathilde the opportunity to raise the war or declare the war that I know he has in his hand. So I take the civil service, I research it. I wouldn't do this if I was not 100% sure that I was going to end the game before Mathilde could declare war. I am 5 strength behind Mathilde. I have a single defense card. Mathilde had like 4 or 5 defense cards. It was crazy. I have a single defense card, which is good enough. It's actually important to check this because if you'll notice, I'm 5 strength behind and I have only 4 military actions. I definitely don't want him plundering me and like stopping me from building Hollywood. So I had this, which is crucial. So it does mean that I can block an aggression. And now I actually have enough actions thanks to civil service that I can take the Hollywood, take the engineering genius, which is not helping the game end, but I still have just enough actions left over that I can take revolutionary idea and, one of these cards to take 3 exact cards away and end the age. If I hadn't taken this fundamentalism from this spot a turn or 2 ago, then the age wouldn't be ending. I still could potentially have ended it. It's just I would have needed to not take Hollywood, most likely. Then, of course, I would have had the actions left to take the multimedia, but this allows me to get Hollywood going, and I think at this point, I'm very comfortable that I'm going to win the game. It does kind of suck that Mathilde has a 50-50 shot now of flipping over those international negotiations, plus any event that he might have put in that's strength-based. But if you look at what's going on here, I am almost 50 points ahead of him. I'm getting another 12 points in culture ahead, and I'm going to build a pretty big Hollywood to just completely make it impossible for him to catch up. There are 2 events that he put in, and he can put a 3rd in, and he can also potentially trigger, this event that he has here. But I was just very, very sure at this point that there was no way for 3 impacts, given what my civilization looks like and what his looks like, to make up, the 50 or so point gap that he was going to be behind. More, actually, when you take into account the Hollywood. Now, Mathilde, you might think, has a pretty insignificant turn here because, there's really not a whole lot of different things that he can do. However, he did manage to surprise me. He found something that I was not expecting. He did nothing. He passed the turn. I don't want anybody giving Mathilde shit about it, all right? Yes, it's a little weird when you log into your game and see that your opponent just passed the turn. Yes, it's sort of strange, and it kind of feels uncomfortable. But you know what? Credit to the man. He, in my heart, will always go down as the sole author, progenitor, and signatory of the Mathilde Protocol for beating Genghis Khan, and a lot of people in his shoes would have just timed out. And then everyone in the group has to wait 36 hours plus the 12 for your turn, so 2 straight days for things to take over and for the official results to become clear on the scoreboard. And he didn't do that. He logged in there, and he pushed a couple buttons to end the turn because the game throws up a flag saying, are you sure you want to end the turn? You got some actions left over. So he pushed not 1 but 2 buttons to end the turn so that this could end sooner and his opponents don't have to wait. So Mathilde, you were an honorable player. I was happy to play alongside you. And of course now I didn't want to think too hard about my last turn, but we actually have enough leeway here to build another opera. We build the Hollywood. We disband a sword in order to stop the revolt. and, you know, just do some stuff. I think I ended up building a couple of temples here to make happy faces and some culture, and then we pass the turn. Now, just out of curiosity, the events that were in there, he did put an impact of science in there. Oh, I was wrong. One of these events was mine. The interface is messed up in the replay system. It shows them all being green, but one of them was mine. It was the impact of progress that I stuck in there, which I beat him a little bit on. And that was all. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like and or subscribe, and I'll see you again not soon for Through the Ages, because it'll be a while before Stage 4 starts, but I am in Stage 4, and I'll be doing other games in the meantime until that starts up. Looking forward to more Through the Ages, though. Take care, everybody.